All right, so hi, Paola, Larissa. Sorry. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for being on time as always, Paola. And thanks for joining again, Larissa. I'm going to start today's class with you. We're going to continue working on Unit 2. Remember, as we had a holiday, right? It was Friday. We didn't have any classes on Friday. Today, we need to finish the second unit. And also today, I'm going to assign the quiz, all right? The second quiz. And then we are going to start the third unit tomorrow. All right, so following that logic, let's start working on Pearson, please. Again, remember that you have until today to finish. All right, unit 2. It's until today, 11:59 p.m. that you have to complete all those assignments. All right, but I'm going to assign unit 3 and I'm going to assign the quiz. First, I'm going to work with the quiz. Okay, so unit 2, again, you have until today, but the quiz is going to be, well, it's going to start today, and it's going to be available for you to take it today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Right? You're going to have those 3 days. So as you can see, all of you, it's going to be today, Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's going to be the last day, the day after tomorrow, 11:59 p.m. Okay, so as always, 50 minutes, and that's it. All right, that's it related to the quiz. So remember, this is the second quiz for unit number 2. Now that the second quiz is done, and so that you don't forget about the next part, I'm going to assign a unit 3. All right, so let me put it like this. So not tomorrow, it's going to be on Wednesday, because it's going to be Wednesday, Friday, and Monday. All right, that's going to be unit 3. So I'm going to assign everything except for review quizzes. Okay, so assign, just in case, good. Select all. And it's going to be, well, the starting day is not now, right? It's going to start on Wednesday. And let's say it's going to be 6 a.m. All right, Wednesday, 6 a.m. And it's going to be until, I told you, right? Wednesday, Friday, and Monday. So Monday, the 25th. All right, you have all those days to complete Unit 3. And as always, the model, and you have 2 attempts. Okay, there you go. So it's done related to Pearson. Again, if you have any questions, you can let me know. I'm going to show you more or less how you're doing, and you can let me know your doubts or some comments that you may have. Okay, so this is your performance so far. So it means that today, in case you didn't finish, you have today to complete the assignments, all right, 11:59 p.m. Today you can take also the second quiz, and it's going to be until Wednesday, all right, this Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. as well. And the third unit is going to start on Wednesday, and it's going to be until next Monday, the same time, right, 11:59 p.m. So if you have any questions about Pearson, please let me know so that we can continue with our lesson that is reflexive pronouns. Any questions? Let me know, please. No? All right. So that's with Pearson then. Let's just leave it there just in case. Now, in order to continue working, actually, this is not the third unit yet. We're still working on unit 2. So just in case, I'm sharing the link. All right, so that we can continue working with this one. Okay, so the link is being copied and it's in the chat. And let's continue with this presentation. But let's see what you remember. I'm going to start with you, please, Paola. All right, I just have one question, Paola. What do you remember about the last lesson, right? We were covering about reflexive pronouns. What do you remember about this one, Paola?
We use when you are doing the action. So
Yes.
you are the subject, and when you are the subject, you use myself in this case.
Okay, there's one detail. The first part is correct. Good, Paola, right? But when you are the subject, you can only say, for example, I, right? I play soccer, right? In that sentence, I am the subject, right? But is that reflexive pronoun? What do you say? What is missing? What is the second condition, Paola? There are two conditions, right? That's for the first rule. You have to be the subject, but also one thing. What else do you have to be, Paola? Who receives the action in a reflexive pronoun idea, Paola? Who does the action and who receives the action? What do you say?
The object?
Correct, very good. So who is the subject and who is the object in the first type of reflexive pronouns, Paola? Who is the subject and who is the object, sorry, in the first type of reflexive pronouns that we were covering on Wednesday?
When they are the same.
Correct, exactly, right? So in this case, the condition is that you are the subject and you are the object at the same time. It means that you are not only doing the action, but you are also receiving the action. All right, it's very important to mention that one. Great, Paula. So when you do the action and you receive the action at the same time, when you are the subject and you are the object at the same time, that's one type of reflexive pronouns, right? For example, you can say, I cut myself. I look at myself, right? I listen to myself. So I do the action and I receive the action, right? Thank you, Paola. So that's the first type. The second, I only want the list. And this is going to be for you, please, Wilson. Wilson, do you remember what are the reflexive pronouns? What's the list of reflexive pronouns that we have?
Yes, we have myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves.
Very good. That is correct, Wilson. Now I'm going to ask you only one more thing, all right? What example can you give me using the first type and what we were talking about with Paola, right? And with my examples. One example in which you do the action and you receive the action. What example can you give me, Wilson?
I cut myself with the knife.
Okay, that is correct. I cut myself with a knife. Now let's just to play a little bit with the words, Wilson. How can you give me the same idea, but using third person, okay, and using simple present? How can you do it?
She cuts herself with a knife.
With a knife. Good. Only one request also there. As this is a simple present idea, what word can you use to show me that that's routine or that thing always happens? How can you show me that with only one extra word that shows me frequency?
Always. She always cuts herself.
Okay, but where do you put that word, Wilson? Where do you place always? There's always a best place to locate that word. Let's give the full answer one more time, please, Wilson, and try to locate the word in the correct place. What do you say?
She cuts herself always with a knife. With a knife always.
All right, it's close. All right, it's close. The best place, Wilson, when you use simple present is before the verb, when it's another verb that is not the verb to be. Okay, so it's going to be, she always cuts herself, all right, with a knife. Because if you say she cuts always, it's going to be incorrect. She cuts herself with a knife always. It's not bad, but it's not common. The most common, all right, for frequency adverbs is always before the verb when it's not the verb to be. Okay, so one more time, how would it be, Wilson, with that idea?
She always cuts herself with a knife.
Thank you very much, Wilson. Correct. So that is the idea. Now I'm going to work with some of you as well, show you this. Thank you very much, Wilson. And it's going to be this one. Let me, just in case, one more time, the link. Okay. And I told you that we have not only one, but we have 4 ways, right? 4 ways to use reflexive pronouns. And you have to be careful because sometimes it's obvious, all right? Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it is not. And you have to be careful with that one, all right? And it's what I'm talking about. This is one, okay? I'm going to divide that here. He cut himself. This is number 2, and this is in past. All right, everything is in past. He cut it himself. This one, Peter himself cut it. And the last one, he cut it by himself. All right, these are 4 different ways to use a reflexive pronouns. It's not the same if you say he cut himself than he cut it himself. Right, that's different. That's why I was making corrections on Wednesday. Do you remember? If you had an object that is not you, is different. Or if you use this after some words, Peter himself cut it. Or he cut it, this is what you were using, right, Daniel? By himself. And the meaning of by himself is a little bit different. Okay, in context can be understood as the same, but it's a little bit different than saying this and this, and even this. But let's try to understand. I'm going to ask you here, Larissa. Larissa, what do you think is the difference between number 1 and number 2 over here? What do you say?
The first is he in his body maybe, and the second can be he cut other thing but himself.
All right, one more time, one explanation. The second, I think it's good, right? In the second, there's another object. So it's not the same person that is receiving the action, right? One more time, the explanation for number 1, please, Larissa.
The number 1, he cut himself. He cut to him. Maybe.
All right, good. It means that there is no other object, right? The only object is the same person. He is the subject and he is the object. He is doing the action and he's receiving the action, right? But in number 2, he is doing the action, but he is not receiving the action, right? This object is receiving the action. So what is and this is the last question for you, Larissa. Then if it is receiving the action, if an object that is not him is receiving the action, then what is the function of himself in number 2, Larissa? What do you say? Why are we saying this? And why are we not saying just this? He cut it. All right. What is the difference, Larissa, between saying he cut it and saying he cut it himself?
Because he's doing the action.
Good. So, and we know that he's doing the action, right? Because it says he. But what is this adding? What do you say? What is himself adding?
Only he, maybe.
Okay, close to that one. All right. If you say only him, actually it's going to be this one, by himself. All right. By himself means alone, only him. But if you use himself, it doesn't mean that it was him alone. In this case, it's only emphasis. And you are telling me that he was the one or one of the ones who did it. All right, that's going to be the difference. Here, this is he does and receives the action. Here, he's doing the action, and himself doesn't mean specifically alone. It only means emphasis, that he did it. But we don't know if he did it alone or he did it with other people. All right. I don't know if you have questions about that logic with number 2, Larissa. Let me know, please.
No, teacher, I understand.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Larissa. And again, we're going to work this together. All right. Then we have number 3 and we have number 4. All right. And in number 3, we have something very special. And this is for you, please, Daniel. What can you tell me about number 3 and number 4? How can you analyze these last 2 cases?
All right. For me, sounds like number 3 puts a little bit more emphasis in the subject. I mean Peter. And the number 4 sounds like be the same like number 2, but it's like say in Spanish por el mismo, but both are pretty similar.
Correct. That's correct, Daniel. Number 2 and number 4, they are very similar. Okay, there's only a slight difference, as I was explaining to Larissa. We're going to check that difference, but they can be used in similar situations. All right, good. And in number 3, that's correct. It's more focused on the subject. But my question, Daniel, what is the difference between number 1, 2, 3, and 4? What is the thing that we are using in number 3 so that we can use himself after the subject or after that name? What is the difference that you see between all of them and number 3?
I don't know, the order to express the I don't know, the action.
Okay, good. And there's also one more thing, Daniel. This is not going to be incorrect, but it's going to be informal or sometimes weird. If I say this, let's read number 3 like that, please, Daniel.
He himself cut it.
All right, good. Now, that can happen, all right, but actually it's not going to be as good as this one. So we know that one of the requirements then, Daniel, is going to be not to use pronouns, but to use nouns when we want to use the reflexive pronoun next to a person or next to an object. All right, so the big change that you have to do is the order, Daniel, you're right. Himself is going to be next to the person, but also instead of using pronouns, it's going to be a better idea to use nouns, right? Specific names if we want to use this structure. All right, just that one. I want to know if you have questions or comments about the logic that we're following so far, Daniel. Let me know, please.
Yeah, I think we understand, but it will be the real challenge will be when we have to decide in which order we have to use them.
Yes, that's right. And in the situation, you're going to see right now, because we're looking at them next to each other, let's say in that way, it looks like confusing, right? But at the moment, and that's what we're going to learn now, all right, there's always one that is the best option. Okay, so let's learn that today. All right?
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you. So this was the presentation. And we were taking a look at the first part, right? This was the first. No, sorry. This was the first. Yes. This is the first usage, right? Paola, Daniel, Larissa, and Wilson. And you gave me examples. Because here you do the action and you receive the action. Right? This is number 1. Remember, you don't have to mention another object. You don't say, I cut the book myself, right? That's not number 1 because there's another object, the book, no. Or if you mention activities, no, you don't have to mention anything. The only object, it has to be you. I cut myself. You enjoy yourselves. It turns itself. We need to believe in ourselves. In other words, you can say we believe in ourselves. All right, you're just adding this need to. But again, the main object here is ourselves. You don't say we need to believe in God ourselves. No, that's different, right? We need to believe in ourselves. So you know this one, okay? This was number 1, and you practice this in class. Now this is number 2. Let's read this one with you, please, Paola, adding emphasis.
Okay, we can add a reflexive pronoun for emphasis when it's unusual or different. He wants to pass his driving test so that he can drive himself to work. She broke her arm so she couldn't wash herself very easily.
Thank you very much, Paola. Now, this is, I think, the challenge, as you were saying also, Daniel, right? Because this is number 2. And it's very, very similar to number 4, but it's not the same. Why? Because you use number 4, by himself, by itself, when you only want to express the idea of alone. Okay, of alone. Here, it can be that they are doing this alone, all right? It can be that they are doing this alone. Here, for example, he can drive himself. It's alone, but that's not the idea. All right, the idea is not that he's doing it alone. The idea is not that she couldn't wash that alone. The idea is that it is unusual. All right, when it's unusual, when it's different, when it's something that doesn't happen all the time, then you use this emphasis. All right, this is emphasis again. All right, number 4 is alone, only alone. Number 2, this is number 2, is emphasis, because it's different, because it's unusual. So again, he can drive himself to work. Here, he's not receiving the action, okay? It's only emphasis to what he is doing, okay? Emphasis to what he can do. In this case, he can drive. Emphasis, all right? The idea is not alone. So she couldn't wash herself very easily, all right? So wash, she's not washing herself, all right? She's washing clothes, but she couldn't wash, she couldn't do that action herself, all right? And again, it's emphasis in what he or she can or cannot do or don't do, all right? Let's put it in that way, only emphasis. And again, the big example is this one, all right? You need to give me examples, guys, in which it looks that this is a little bit out of place, a little bit unusual. So you can say something like this, all right? I'm going to give you another example. And again, it can be alone, but that's not the main idea, right? So you can say, it's impressive, all right? It's impressive. They, all right, build that themselves. All right, so again, it may mean alone or by themselves, right, without any help, but here the main idea is emphasis, because this was impressive. Okay, so the only difference again between this and this is that here you only mean alone, but here you mean that this is different. You mean that this is quite unusual. And it's very important to mention themselves, because it doesn't happen in that way usually. It's something different, okay? It's something unusual, and it deserves to have emphasis. And what's the emphasis? Themselves is the emphasis, all right? Because this action is different, unusual, something that doesn't happen very often. All right, I know that I repeated the word a lot, but it's important that it's in your heads, all right? Unusual. So let's try to write examples this time, All right, it's going to be important to have examples. So please, first, let me know if you have any questions. But as you can see, one thing that is important to know, guys, is that you have the subject, you have the action. Okay, you have the action. Then you may or may not have another object. All right, in this case, this is the object. And themselves, in this case, is not the object. Okay, themselves, in this case, is only emphasis. Okay, emphasis on the idea that this action happened, that is not usual, but they did it or they do it. Okay, if you have questions, please let me know. If not, let's go to this document, guys, and let's try 2 examples, please. Okay, 2 examples following number 2. Reflexive pronouns as emphasis. Okay, let's do it, please. We're going to have 2-3 minutes and we check. Okay, and one more time, just in case, remember that in these examples, the person is not receiving the action. Okay, the person is doing the action, another object is receiving the action, but you use this word to put emphasis on the idea that he is doing that she is doing that they are doing that you are doing that. Okay, and it's impressive, it's unusual, it's different. Okay, we'll check in 30 seconds. All right, so it's the 3 minutes. Let's take a look. All right, and again, if we have some mistakes, we're going to fix them together. But again, please have that in mind. Remember that the main idea here is that this is something different. Okay, it's something different and it deserves emphasis. And the emphasis is reflexive pronouns. All right, so let's take a look at that. I'm going to start with you, please. This is yours, Wilson. Let's read your ideas, please, Wilson.
Okay, you cooked my favorite food yourself. We broke the rules ourselves.
All right, thank you very much, Wilson. I think it's working good. All right, if you mean emphasis and something different as it looks it is, all right, then it's working good, right? You cooked it yourself. So it doesn't happen very often, okay? That's the meaning. It's impressive because usually you don't do that. And in number 9 as well, right? You broke the rules, or we broke the rules ourselves. And it's not something that happens all the time. Okay, perhaps it's the first time that you did that. Okay, but I think it looks great, Wilson. I don't know if you have any questions about this second way of using reflexive pronouns. Let me know, please.
No, I think it's just when we do something for the first time.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Could be for the first time, or at least it's the first time that you are seeing that. Okay, for example, if you see that someone did that, and it's the first time that perhaps not that person did that, but it's the first time that you see that, for you it's impressive because it's the first time that you are seeing that, then it's going to be this one. Okay, in other words, it has to be something impressive because it's actually the first time for that person, or it's the first time that you are looking at that action. All right.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Wilson. So it's working very good. I'm going now with you, Larissa, please. Let's read your ideas.
And they climbed themselves. She designed her room herself.
Thank you very much, Larissa. Good. I think again it's working great. As in the examples, right, Larissa? In the examples, they didn't use any other objects. So you have that options. In this case, we understand that you're talking about to climb, could be a mountain or a hill, right? So if you want, okay, this is just optional. You can tell me the object here. Okay, this is optional, so that the idea is even clearer for the reader, but it's not necessary. All right, it's going to be an idea that you can or you cannot do. But in both cases, you are just putting emphasis on what happened, right? So I think it's working great again, Larissa. I don't know if you have any questions about this second way of working with this.
Okay. No, teacher.
Okay, thank you very much. Now it's with you, please, Paola. Let's read 8 and 9, please. Oh, sorry. Yes, 8 and 9.
I baked the bread myself. She cleaned the living room herself.
Very good. Again, it's working great. You have different objects and you're using the reflexive pronouns to put emphasis on the idea that you did it. All right. And remember, we only use this one when it's different. All right. When it's something impressive or when it happened for the first time for you or for the people that are looking at that. I don't know if you have any questions about this, Paola.
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you. And Daniel, let's finish up with you, please.
Okay, they're going to wash the car by themselves. I'm really proud of that. My mom bought an awesome game for me, and she did it herself. I'm really impressed.
Okay, good. Only number 5, right? In number 5, you're using number 4, right? So again, I ask you, Daniel, what is the difference between saying they are going to wash the cars by themselves and they are going to wash the car themselves? What is the difference between those two, Daniel? What do you say?
Por ellos mismos o ellos.
But when do you use which one? When do you use themselves and when do you use by themselves?
To put more emphasis in the subject or in the noun.
Yes, but more than in the noun, in this case, is in the action itself, right? Is what the subject is doing or the action that they are doing, right? So again, the big difference, if you say only by themselves, it's understandable and you're saying that they are washing the car alone without any help, right? That's the meaning of by themselves, without any help, right? But if you only say they are going to wash the car themselves, then you are telling me that this is an unusual activity. they never do that action. Okay, so when you only say themselves, you put emphasis not only in the subject, but in the entire action. Okay, in the entire
Okay.
action that they are doing. But if you say by themselves, you're not putting emphasis on something different. You are just clarifying that the subject is doing that without any help. Okay, so
Okay.
like that is impressive, different, all the action is special, and with that is only clarification. All right, I don't know if you have any questions about that. Let me know, please.
No, it's more clear now.
All right, thank you, Danny. We're going to keep working. All right, thank you very much. And I think the second one is working very good. She did it herself, right? So one more time, and I'm going to write this here. Sometimes you have everything in the presentation, right? But here, I'm going to write it. Subject, okay, and object are the same person or object, let's say, or only the same person in order not to create confusion. You do, okay, oh, sorry, the person, let's say, the person does and receives the action. That's number one, right? I think that's clear for all of you. Number one is clear for all of you because the subject, right, and the object are the same. The person does and receives the action. Number two, different, okay? It's different, unusual, all right? It's different, unusual. You use this one, let's check it one more time. The entire action, okay? The entire action, the subject and the verb is something that doesn't happen very often, all right? In that case, all right, when the situation is like that, then use this one. Only himself, all right? Not by himself, himself. That's number two, okay? We're there. Let's go now to number three. Number three, it's also emphasis, all right? We're not going to check this one, we're going to check this one. This is number three. It's also emphasis, but not in the entire action, okay? This is not emphasis for the entire action. This is only emphasis for one noun, for one person, for one object. All right, so this is going to be for you, please, Larissa, adding emphasis with nouns.
We can also use a reflexive pronoun together with the noun it refers to in order to emphasize it. We talked to the manager herself, and she agreed to give us our money back. Parents themselves need to take more responsibility for their children's learning.
Thank you very much, Larissa. Only these two words, please, Larissa. This is going to be emphasize. Let's repeat, please.
Emphasize.
Good. And this one, even though you have an E over here, it's only going to be like responsibility, responsibility.
Responsibility.
It's a little bit between E and A. It's always with I, all right, but the pronunciation is a little bit different. Just that one, Larissa. Thank you.
Okay.
So here, as you can see, what is the requirement? There's one big requirement, that you use the reflexive pronoun always, okay, not at the end of the action, not after one action, no. Here the emphasis is not the action, okay, it's not the entire action like in number two. Okay, in number two, the entire action, the subject and the verb is different, is unique, is unusual. But in number three here is not the action, it's only emphasis on the person or the people or the object. Okay, we talked to the manager herself. So here you're saying like in person, it was her, okay? It was her, it was the manager, it was her. Parents themselves, okay, parents. If only, again, this is something that only gives emphasis to that specific person and only that specific person or group of people. In this case, group of people, right? Parents, if you say parents need to take more responsibility for their children's learning, it's good. But if you say parents themselves need to blah, 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 it means that you're putting a lot of emphasis on what? On parents, okay? Not in the action, not in other people, right? The emphasis is on parents. So I'm going to give you just 2 examples to show you where you can place it, right? Where you can place it. And then you give me your examples, please. And again, you let me know if you have any questions. But in number 3, it's going to be something like this. Look, I'm a Pink Floyd fan, all right? I love Pink Floyd. And the guitarist, all right, is David Gilmour. So I'm going to give you an example about him. I'm going to say, yesterday, all right, yesterday, I saw David Gilmour himself, all right? So himself is not with the subject, is with the noun, David Gilmour. Okay, it's not going to be, I saw David Gilmour myself. No, it's not about me. It's not about my action, all right? It's about the noun, this person. Okay, it was David Gilmour and it was him. So to put that emphasis, David Gilmour himself. All right, if you want, you can say David Gilmour in person. You can say that idea as well. All right, so David Gilmour and himself. Here, those 2 ideas have to be connected. Okay, not I. It has to be about him. And you don't say him, you need to mention the name. All right, the second example, it can be at the end of the sentence or it can be at the beginning, right? And you can say the president himself, all right, the president himself, because the president is a man. So I say himself, okay? The president himself gave a very long speech, all right, last night. So I'm just putting emphasis on what? On the president, not the action of giving a speech, all right? Only to that specific person, that is the president. Okay, so the explanation here is going to be on one specific person or group of people, all right, of people when using a noun. Okay, that's requirement, not pronouns. You have to use nouns. President is a noun. David Gilmour, right, 2 nouns. But that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, again, please, guys, let's write 2 examples. All right, 2 examples using reflexive pronouns with nouns. All right, it can be at the beginning of the sentence, it can be in the middle, it can be at the end of the sentence. Let's do it, please. Any questions, let me know. Remember about this suggestion, please. You always agree with the noun, okay? The president himself, correct. The president herself, correct, if it's a girl, okay? The manager herself, correct, if it's a girl. The manager himself, correct, if it's a man. All right, so you need to agree always in person, in gender.
Teacher, one question.
Yes, tell me, Daniel.
¿Cómo podría decir recaudo?
Collect, collection, or to collect something. Okay, collect. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we check in 30 seconds, please. Okay, so let's check. And also to talk about the word, Daniel, it's interesting. Okay, collection can be colección de cosas, but collection means recaudo. When you collect, all right, tú recaudas. When you collect, cobras, all right? Recaudar, cobrar. For example, if you go to receive your payment, okay, you can collect your payment. You can collect that money, all right? Cobrar, recaudar, obtener, all right? To collect. That is the idea.
Yeah, I'm a little confused with that, but we will see in my sentence if it's correct how
right.
I'm using it.
Okay, let's take a look, Daniel. We're going to check, and if there's a mistake, we're going to try to fix it together. All right?
Thank you.
Good, you're welcome. So I'm going to follow the same order, please. I'm going to start once again with you, please, Wilson. Let's read your ideas, please.
Neil deGrasse Tyson himself sing my astrophysics book.
That is great. Okay, let's go to the next one. That's a very good example.
Barcelona players themselves lost the Europa League.
Thank you very much, Wilson. And again, right? Anything is possible with this idea. When you only want to put emphasis in one noun, anything is possible. Only the pronunciation in number 10, please, Wilson. That verb is going to be signed. 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 Exactly. Very good, right? So that person himself signed your astrophysics book. Very good, right? And Barcelona players, a group of people themselves, only emphasis on that idea, lost the I don't know actually, because there are sometimes specific names, right? I don't know what's the international name for this one, Wilson. I don't know that much about football, perhaps, or soccer. Perhaps Daniel can help us. But if there's a possibility, I would recommend to say the European League. But I don't know if the big name, the international name, is Europa League. Okay, yeah. If it's not the international name, then my recommendation is to change it to the European League. Okay, just that one. Okay. All right, but is that the international name, Wilson? Europa League? Let me know.
Yes, that's the name of the competition.
Okay, good. If that's the name and it's the international recognized name around the world, and even in English they call it like that, perfect. But if they use translation around the world, Wilson, Then you can translate Europa to European. All right, just that one, but that's secondary, right? Do you have any questions about using these pronouns in this case, Wilson? Let me know, please.
No, teacher. It's not
Okay.
clear.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just in case, I'm going to bold your reflexive pronouns. All right, there you go. Good. Larissa, let's go with you now, please.
The teacher invents a game herself. Owners themselves must take care of their pets.
Okay, thank you very much. There is only one detail here, Larissa. In number 10, it's okay because you're telling me owners. Okay, let's do this one. Owners, this is the noun, and then themselves. Perfect. Okay, the rule, the condition, Larissa, is that the reflexive pronoun always has to be next to the noun. Okay, next to the noun. Now here, what is the emphasis for herself? Is it for the teacher or is it for the game, Larissa? What do you say? What do you want to put emphasis on, Larissa? On the teacher or on the game?
Yes, and the teacher.
Good. So if it's for the teacher, then you're going to locate herself next to the teacher. Okay, and you're going to say the teacher herself invented a game.
Okay.
Okay, if the emphasis is for the game, you're going to say a game itself. But in this case, it's not logic, right? So the best option is that one, Larissa, the teacher herself. Let's make that change, but that's going to be it, Larissa. Do you have any questions about this logic? Let me know, please.
Okay. No, teacher.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Larissa. Just remember, all right, always next to the noun that you are putting emphasis on. Great. Thank you. And just in case, again, I'm going to mark this. So that is going to be clear. All right. Yes, I didn't tell that one, Larissa. So owners themselves must take care. Remember, is always to take care of something. All right. Take care of their pets. So only the preposition over there. That's it. Thank you very much again. Paula, let's go with you, please, Paula. Let's read your ideas.
Okay. The queen herself attended the party. He himself broke his window.
Thank you, Paola. So I think it's great. Only number 11, remember, you can read and you can hear that. It's not like wrong, but it's not formal, all right? To apply the rule, you don't have to use pronouns. You have to use nouns, okay? So he is a noun. Oh, sorry, it's a pronoun. What can you use to replace he, Paola, so that you have a noun instead of a pronoun?
Maybe a name?
Yes, a noun is a name, so you need a name. What name can you give me? Any name would work, Paola.
Santiago?
Yes, let's do that. Only that change, please, Paola. So Santiago himself broke his window. All right, again, if you say he himself, is not bad, but it's a little bit weird and it's a little bit informal. It's always better to use the name, okay? A noun is always going to be a name, a proper name or a general name like teacher or engineer, all right? That one, Paola. Do you have any questions? Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you. I'm just in case I'm bolding your reflexive pronouns, all right, all of you. Good. And Daniel, now with you. Let's work with you, please, Daniel.
Okay, Cristiano Ronaldo himself scored 3 goals in the last match. He was unleashed. Avatar itself is the #1 in manual collection in all of history.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So good, let's analyze. All right, I think it's working good. I think even the word is valid to use it like that, to collect or to recollect. You can also say that one. Recollect it's very similar, all right, but it's like in Spanish, right? To recolectar. To collect is recaudar. All right, so if you use that as a noun, it's a collection and it's not wrong. But let's analyze, all right? Verse number 7, I think it's good. Just the punctuation, as this is going to be a new idea, even though it's related, right? You can use a semicolon over there, right? So Cristiano Ronaldo himself scored. So very good. And in this case, Cristiano Ronaldo is the noun, right? This person himself. Good. So Avatar itself, because yes, it's the name of a movie, right? So it's working very good. And here we have this one, is the number one in money collection or recollection. Collection, I think it's okay, in all of history. You can say only like in history, all right? In all of history, it's okay, it's optional, but it's enough if you say like in history. I think collection is not wrong here, Daniel. It's working good. Again, the difference between collection and recollection is recolectar and recaudar. All right, so I think it's working good. I don't know if you feel uncomfortable with some of those words, Daniel. Let me know, please.
No, yeah, it's a new word for me, but also I look it for it in the translator, and there's another word called grosser. So
Okay, how do you spell that one, Daniel?
grosser.
All right, I heard it. I've used it a couple of times, but I can tell you that actually to collect, all right, and collection of something can be more common than that word. Okay, so you can use that word if you want, Daniel, again, but collection and to collect can be applied to almost any situation. All right, it's a little bit more general and it fits to more situations than the word that you're telling me. But again, if you use this word, it's not going to be incorrect. All right.
Okay.
Okay,
I get
good.
it.
Thank you very much. So, good. So this was the third one. All right. Remember, always next to a noun, a name. Okay. When I say a noun, it means a name, and a name can be a proper name, Cristiano, or a name can be like a common name, like teacher, like professional, like computer. Okay, those are also names because it's the name of one profession, is the name of an object. All right, so the last one. Let's go to the last one, and this is finally, right, using by. And again, the only difference is that it's not emphasis on the entire action. You only mean alone, without any help. All right, so this is for you, please, Wilson. By. Let's read this one, please.
We can use by plus reflexive pronoun to mean alone. He usually goes on holiday by himself. Do you enjoy being by yourself?
Thank you, Wilson. So again, if you analyze even the examples, this is not something different. This is not something unusual. This is not something impressive, all right? If it's impressive, only say himself, don't say by himself. But here, you only mean alone, without any help, all right? And when that's the case, mainly alone, only use by. So he usually, right? This is not something different. This is routine. He usually goes on holiday by himself. So that's something that happens all the time, or at least usually. Do you enjoy being by yourself? Again, this is routine. You are usually by yourself, alone. Do you enjoy being alone? Okay, so that's the big difference. All right, when you say yourself without by, it's impressive, is different, is unusual. But if you use by and you use the reflexive pronoun, it only means alone. All right, and that's the big difference between that one. So let me write it over here so that you have the 4 ideas. So remember, number 1, it was you do and you receive the action, right? You do and you receive the action. Let me change that one in that way. Good. Number 2 is when the entire action is impressive, is different. So you use the reflexive pronoun without by, okay? They build that themselves. This entire action is impressive and is different, so you use that one. Number 3 is when you put emphasis not in the entire action, right? The emphasis goes to only one object, only one person, the president himself, Cristiano Ronaldo himself, right? The man
Teacher,
by yourself.
I can
Yes.
listen.
Can you hear me now, Paula?
Yes.
Or
Now
Francesca?
you
Okay, good.
know what happened.
I received the message, Paola. My internet connection is not good, so I'm turning this off. I don't know what was the last explanation that you were able to listen to, guys. But again, I'm going to mention very briefly. All right, very briefly. Number 1, you do and you receive the action. Okay, number 1, you do and you receive the action. You are the subject and you are the object. Number 2, the situation is different, unusual, impressive. So you use the reflexive pronouns at the end of the action. Okay, at least after the subject and the verb. All right, after the subject, the verb, and perhaps another object. In number 3 is emphasis only on one person or one object, not the action, not the entire idea, only on one specific person or group of people. And number 4, I hope that you can hear me, is alone. It's not impressive, it's only alone. Again, it can be impressive, of course, but it means that you're doing this just you and no one else. That's it. Okay, and again, if you have any questions, please let me know. But we're going to finish this lesson by writing 2 examples with this one as well. All right, let's do it, please. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, let's write 2 examples using by plus reflexive pronoun. Let's do it. We check and we finish with a conversation, please. Okay, we check in 1 minute, please. All right, so it's time. Let's check this. We have a short conversation because with this we finish. I'm just going to show you one thing that you have to be careful with, but that's it. Before going there and finishing the lesson, let's check your ideas. I'm going to start with you once again, please, Wilson. Let's read your 2 ideas, please.
I do the housework by myself, and Cynthia lives in Sucre by herself.
Good. All right, very good. So again, here only alone. Now, I have one question, Wilson, to see if we understand the difference. What is the difference in number 12 when you say, I do the homework by myself and I do the homework myself? What is the difference between those 2 ideas, Wilson?
I do the housework by myself is I do always the housework alone without help. And I do the housework myself is I do the housework myself. I cannot explain that, but I think it's obviously.
All right, you can say this one, Wilson. Sorry, I didn't read that one. Housework, okay. You can say the chores, the housework, right? Is this one, okay? This is the difference. The first explanation was perfect, all right, without any help alone. But if you say this, all right, usually it's not going to be in simple present. Usually it's going to be in simple past or another things like that. Or it can be future, all right? Usually it's going to be like that. The big difference is going to be that this action doesn't happen very frequently. This is not a routine. This is not an action that happens usually or that usually happens, right? When you don't use by, it means that this action is unique and is different. All right, but if you use by, it means that it's not unique, it's not different, it's something that you do every time alone. All right. So in number 13, perhaps in number 13, it's only going to be one possible option. Okay, for example, in number 13, is it possible to say this? Wilson, what do you say? If you say Cynthia lives in Sucre herself, what do you say? Using this logic that you're learning now, Wilson, would that be correct? Or is it always better to use by self in this specific situation about living?
No, I think no.
So what is the best option? What should we do to make this correct?
By herself, only by herself.
Good. And why is not possible? Because again, in speaking can be possible, but why is not that good of an idea to say only this, Wilson? Cynthia lives in Sucre herself. Can this be a different situation? Can this be something unusual? Or is it only applicable to alone?
No, it's not. It's usual. It
Exactly.
cannot be unusual.
Yes. When you say live, a routine, of course, it doesn't change, right? It's always going to be something that happens, like a routine, something that is there, that is a fact, a reality, right? And if that's the case, you can use by. All right. So that's the only thing I want to show here, Wilson. Using by myself means alone, and this can be a routine. But only using myself after an action, it means that it has to be something impressive, sorry, different or unusual. That doesn't happen every time. All right, I want to know if you see the difference between those two, because those are the two most similar here, Wilson. What do you say?
Yeah, I think it's clear.
Do you have any questions perhaps or comments, Wilson?
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you, Wilson. Thank you very much. I'm going now with you, Larissa. This is here. Yes, this is you. So let's read yours, please, Larissa.
He prefers to work on the project by himself, and she bought a car by herself.
Good. Thank you, Larissa. I think they work very good, right? Because they mean alone. He prefers to work on the project alone, right? Without anybody else. And she bought a car by herself, alone, without any help, without anybody else. Now, again, and this is the question to see if we understand the difference, Larissa. What is the difference in number 13? Only number 13. When you say she bought a car by herself, and if you say she bought a car herself, what is the difference when you say those two ideas, Larissa? By and without by.
Oh, I mistake.
No, because it's okay. All right, this one is okay. It's perfect because we have to use by.
Okay.
Okay, here we have to use by. So by himself, it's perfect because by himself means alone, and by herself is perfect, Larissa, because by herself means alone. Only she. All right. But again, my question is the following. What is the difference if I delete this? Okay, I decide to delete this. Now, what is the meaning of this sentence? That is number 13, if I don't use by.
In this case, maybe she went a bike alone, but if say by herself is in the mean she can bought a car.
Right? Okay, let's organize those ideas, Larissa, because in the first explanation, if you say alone, yes, number just like that can be alone. But let's remember, all right? If you say this, just like that, it means alone, but it doesn't mean impressive or it doesn't mean unique or unusual. All right, so it's only alone. She bought a car by herself, but perhaps she has money, okay? And she has bought cars before, Larissa, okay? So before this time, she bought cars before. So she has 3 cars, let's say, okay? This is the 3rd car. So it's not unique, it's not unusual, it's only alone, right? But when you say only herself, you are putting emphasis in this entire action, all right? And it means that this action is not a routine, it's not usual, okay? It's unusual. So when you only use herself, it means that this action is different, that this action is unusual, it's impressive, and you need to show that it's unique by using herself at the end, okay? But it doesn't mean necessarily alone, okay? It only means that the entire action is impressive, that she never bought a car before, that it's the first time, and it's impressive that she did. All right, I don't know if you have questions about that one, because that's the difference between saying herself and saying by herself. What do you say, Larissa? Let me know, please.
Okay, now that you know, it's more clear.
All right, good. Thank you, Larissa. Then the examples are correct. All right, thank you very much. So by himself, Paola. Let's work with you now, please, Paola.
Okay, Laura learned to read by herself. I will cook everything by myself.
Okay, good. Thank you, Paola. Again, the examples are working great. All right, alone and alone, Paola. All right, learned to read by herself without any help, and I will cook everything by myself, alone. Right? Now, the same question, Paola, and again, this is so that you can tell me your own words and I can see that we understand this one. So, if you say this in number 12, in your case, in number 12, Paola, if I delete that, what do I mean now, Paola, in number 12, if I don't use by? What do you say? What's the difference there?
I think you emphasize mm,
Okay. I can have some questions. For example, if it's like that, Paola,
yeah.
is this action, okay, is this action a usual action, an action that happens every time? Or is this an action that is different? Is this an action that is something that doesn't happen all the time, Paola? What do you say?
Maybe not all.
Yes, not always. Okay, I'm going to help you out with this one, and this is for everybody because I know that this can be confusing because they are very similar. Okay, when you say this, Paola, and this is the difference. I'm going to write it too, and this is for everybody. All right. So Laura learned to read, and Laura learned to read. So these two ideas, okay, we have to analyze very shortly, Paola, and for everybody, because I know we have a little bit of difficulty here because they are very similar again. The only difference is that this means that this is unique, okay? Even you can say it's not expected. All right, when you only say herself, himself after one action, it means that this action is not usual, okay? Remember, please, those words. It's unusual, it's different, is unique, is not expected, okay? So if this action, Paola, and then Larissa, and Wilson, and Daniel, if this action is very different and you did not expect that action to happen, then you only say herself. Okay, so you say, hey, Laura learned to read herself, right? Wow, that's very impressive. Yes, I thought she had some problems with learning that, right? Yes, and blah, 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 blah. Right here, the emphasis is not alone, okay? It's the idea of the action. But if you say then, Paola, right, and everybody, Laura learned to read by herself, it can be impressive, all right? But here, the only emphasis or idea that you're giving me, all right, is alone. All right, by herself means alone. And herself after an action means, wow, right? It happened. It could be alone or not, but it's different, okay? And it's not usual. It's something unexpected, unusual, different, unique. And this one, not necessarily, all right? Only alone. With that one, I want to know if you have any questions about this specific part. Paola, what do you say about the idea now?
Now it's more clear, teacher.
Okay, thank you. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, thank you, Paola. And the last one with you, please, Daniel. Let's read your ideas, please.
My dog learned how to serve her food by herself. She cooked a delicious dessert by herself.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So I think, again, it's working very good, right? The idea of alone. And again, with you, Daniel, just to close this one and to practice, what is the difference then in number 11? Okay, when you say she cooked a delicious dessert by herself and she cooked a delicious dessert herself. What is the difference between those two ideas?
Well, the actual one is something unusual or unique that happened at the moment. With by herself, it's like just do the thing alone.
Thank you, Daniel. That is correct. All right, that was very good. Okay, just that one. Again, they are very similar. If you use them in a context and the context is not clear, you can use both and they are going to mean the same because we want to say alone. But again, remember, the big difference is that one of them shows uniqueness, okay, something different, unusual, unexpected. When you only say himself, herself, themselves. But if you say by herself, by himself, by themselves, it only means alone. Okay, and it's not necessarily impressive. It can be impressive, but it's not necessarily impressive. Okay, but that's it. Those are the 4 types of sorry, this is not the one, reflexive pronouns. Okay, this is another one, reflexive pronouns. And you need to be, all right, sure when you're going to use each of them. But now, to finish the lesson, as I told you, this is just a clarification. You have other types of pronouns, and it's important to understand the difference. This is going to be for you, please, Paola. All right, reciprocal pronouns, please.
Notice the difference between plural reflexive pronouns and reciprocal pronoun each other, one another. They are buying themselves a new television. They have buying each other small gifts. We look at ourselves in the mirror. We look at each other in surprise.
Thank you very much, Paola. So I'm going to ask you about this difference just by giving you one example, all right? And you're going to tell me what's the difference. What's the difference between they look at each other, all right? And the difference with they look at themselves. All right, what is the difference here? I'm going to start with you, Wilson. Wilson, what is the difference between these 2 ideas? They look at each other and they look at themselves.
They look at themselves. It means they look like those persons that are speaking, and the first Paola and Larissa look at each other. It means that Paola is looking at Larissa and Larissa is looking at Paola.
Great, that was very, very good. Let's explain only one more time, please. Number 2. So in number 1, you're telling me, right? In number 1, Paola is looking at Larissa and Larissa is looking at Paola, right? Great. But what happens in number 2? Let's explain with that logic, please, with the names, Wilson.
That means that Paola and Larissa look at Paola and Larissa. I don't know how to explain that, but the Paola and Larissa looks like in physics, I think.
All right, and I can help you with that one, Wilson. Again, the first one was very good. This one is close, but again, to make it clearer, you may say perhaps Wilson, right? In number 2, Paola is looking at herself and Larissa is looking at herself. So in other words, also you can say, right, Paola is looking at herself, and Larissa is looking at herself. They are not looking at each other, right? Perhaps they are in front of a mirror and they are looking at themselves. Paola at herself and Larissa at herself, right? I don't know if you agree with that one, Wilson. Let me know, please.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much, Wilson. Let's keep going, okay? I want all of you to explain that one, please, so that I know that it's clear for you. What do you say now, Paola? Again, because Wilson was right. You can use the same explanation if you want, Paola. But in your own words, how can you explain the difference between those two ideas, Paola? Paola and Larissa look at each other, and Paola and Larissa look at themselves.
Mm. In the first one, Paola looks at Larissa, and in the second one, Paola looks herself and Larissa too.
Good, exactly, looks at, right? Very good. In number 2, Paola looks at herself, and Larissa also looks at herself, right? Now, in number 1, only number 1, there's missing only one part. So in number 1, you're telling me that Paola looks at Larissa. That's correct. But is that it, Paola, or it happens the other way around as well?
It happens around.
Good. You can use this expression, Paola. The other way around. It means al revés.
The other way around?
The other way around. Good. So, and how is the other way around, Paola? Who is looking at who?
Larissa is looking at Paola.
Great. Thank you, Paola. Great. That was good. Thank you. If you have any questions, just let me know. All right? Great. Larissa, the same, please. How can you explain these two and their differences?
The first, I see I look at to Paola and she look at me. And the second is I see myself and Paola look herself.
Good, very good. Only one little thing over there. Be careful with some prepositions, right? For example, if you say look at, then you don't need to add to, right? It's only going to be I look at myself, or you can say I look at Paola, right? And then in number also 2, the explanation was very good, but always say look at, because if you only say look, it's going to be a little bit weird or incorrect. Or if you say look to, again, the meaning is a little bit different, okay? So it's better if you only say look at. But that was great. One more time, only one more time, please, with that idea, Larissa. Number 2, using those prepositions in number 2, please. How do you explain this one?
Okay, Paola look at herself and I look at myself.
Okay, very good, exactly. And always the third person, right? Paola looks at herself.
Yes.
That's it, Larissa. Do you have any questions about this one? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, it's clear.
Okay, thank you. And let's finish this up with you, please, Daniel. The same explanation. How can you explain the difference between these two ideas in your own words?
Well, we already heard the explanation many times. So, one example that I have been thinking of, it's, for example, when two gears or many gears they are looking each other. Well, the second one, it could be they were look at. Oh, sorry. The example was we were looking at ourselves in the mirror, for example. When both, I think, 2 girls or 3 girls, they were preparing themselves, so each one is looking themselves in the mirror.
Good. And if I ask you this one, Daniel, thank you very much again, right? It was repeating a lot, so thanks for giving like a different perspective. But to complement this one, Daniel, which one shows reciprocity? Okay, which one shows reciprocity, and which one shows like something individual, Daniel? Which one is individual? Okay, you don't look at anybody else but you. And which one shows reciprocity because you look at other persons?
Yeah, could be if there are 2 girls and each one are looking at themselves. I mean, in that case, for each girl, if a girl is looking herself, that is the second option in this case, like themselves. But when they can look to each other, it will be the first example.
Great. When they look at each other, right? Great. That's correct, right? And there is some reciprocity over there, right? Thank you, Daniel. I don't know if you have any questions or comments about this one.
No, teacher.
No? All right. Thank you very much. And that's it. All right. I showed you this one because it's important to understand the difference between each other, reciprocity. Okay. I look at you and you look at me. All right. So there is reciprocity, right? You know what's to be reciprocal, right? To be reciprocal. But in number two, there's no reciprocity. This is something individual. Okay. This is only you. You look at yourself and they look at themselves, right? There is no interaction. Okay. That's very important. In number one, there's interaction. In number two, there's no interaction with anybody else but you. All right, but that's it. That's what I wanted to show you again. All right, with that, we finished unit 2. Remember that today you can complete the assignments in case you didn't. And also today, if you feel ready, you can take the second quiz. It's going to be available until Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. And also on Wednesday, we are going to start with unit, it's going to be unit 3. If you have any questions about this one and before finishing, please let me know. All right. Yes, Daniel, let me know, please. What questions do you have or comments?
Teacher, I also remember in many movies you can hear, I don't know, something talking about, for example, the words that I remember, it's say something like, look at you, you look awesome, or something like that. But I don't hear, look yourself, for example. I always hear, look at you, you're good, or something like that.
Yes,
So,
that is correct. Yeah, tell me, Daniel.
yeah, that's my question. In this
Okay,
case, which is the reason?
Good. Actually, it's level of formality or informality, okay? In grammar, okay, grammatically speaking, it's incorrect to say this, okay? And it's incorrect and it's weird because what you're telling me, Daniel, is that in movies, they say this, he cut him, all right? Or to say, I cut me, all right? But again, it's understandable because me is the object for I. And if I say I cut me, it's understandable. All right, it's understandable. And in informal English, it's okay. But again, grammatically speaking, the best option is not to do that. The best option is when he is the subject and he is the object, is valid and understandable to say him, but the best option is always going to be himself. Okay, and again, this is grammatically speaking. It's also because in movies, Daniel, right, the speech is very informal. For example, they say, if I was you. If I was you is correct, but it's informal. The best form is to say, if I were you. All right, so it's level of formality only, Daniel.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
All right,
Thank you.
good. Thank you very much. And that's it. All right, that's it, guys. Again, any other questions or comments, just let me know. But today, to finish, as always, please, I'm going to show you 2 surveys because we are in the middle of the course. First, answer the daily survey, please. There you go. And after this, you're going to have another survey, but only 2 short questions.
Teacher, until which day we have the option to work on the quiz?
Wednesday, until Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. So only one more is missing. Good, there you go. And one more, please. This is going to be the satisfaction survey. Good. Let's answer that one as well, please. All right, so one more time, please. Until today, the assignments, until Wednesday, the second quiz. Thanks for being here. Have a good night and see you tomorrow in the conversation, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. See you.